Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Monday Night Pod. My name is Jeremy Jacobowitz. I'm here with my tag team partner, Adam Welby.
Ew.
And this is the podcast all about the Monday Night Wars, all about the battles between WWF Raw and WCW Nitro. Each and every single week, we go back in time, we re-review when the shows went head-to-head in order to one day determine who really should have won the Monday Night Wars. Adam, why should people listen, though, to what we have to say?
Because it's Monday Night Pod, and that means it's time to crack a beer and talk about some old school wrestling. Everybody has their Monday Night Pod drinking game cards, right? I sent those out. Jared, you got yours? No?
What's rule number one?
Every time that we're bored by a match, you have to drink.
Every time Adam is an inexcusable mark for AEW.
Exactly. You have two drinks. That's two drinks. Every time Jeremy mentions Hunter, you have to drink.
That's not fair because Hunter is in these episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, those reasons are good, Adam, I guess. The other reason is that we both used to work for the WW. We both used to work in a WW tape library. We both used to, our jobs were to watch all of wrestling. So we've watched a lot of it. Odds are more than you, even if you've watched it your whole life, I guarantee, even if you are, well, I'm going to say 100 years. If you are younger than 80 years old and you've watched wrestling your entire life, I guarantee you that we've still seen more wrestling than you, which is crazy.
That's true. And you know what I think is fun sometimes, having seen all of that stuff, is I was going back only a couple of weeks, but I was watching Dark Side of the Ring. And I was watching the Owen Hart episode, and they were talking about Owen coming up through Stampede Wrestling, and they were showing a bunch of the crazy stuff that he did in Stampede. And I was thinking, yeah, I watched Stampede. I remember Ed Whalen, the greatest announcer ever. That was a fun. I remember the audience chanting racial slurs at certain.
That was everyone on that show chanting racial slurs.
Yeah. I remember
Stu would have been canceled. In 2020.
Stu talking about this every episode. He talked about how there was tremendous competition.
He would always say tremendous competition.
There was tremendous competition.
There was tremendous competition
In Stampede. Do recommend going back and watching Stampede.
I don't know if you can. I don't really know if it's on the network. I'm sure some stuff is on network. I'm sure some stuff is on YouTube, but I believe it's very, very small.
Well, they would have to give some of those crowd chants the DDP theme music treatment.
It's probably true. One thing before I forget, because I've been meaning to say this every single week and then I forget every single week. We, as some of you guys know, we're now available on YouTube. If you listen to this on a podcast, that's wonderful. Our full episodes of everything we've ever done in podcast form. But our viewership has been growing nicely every single week on YouTube. So if you are just joining us on YouTube and you're like, why did you start on episode 40? Where the hell are all the other episodes? I can't promise you that we will upload the other episodes to YouTube, but I can promise you that from 1 to whatever number we got to started on YouTube, 40, 41, whatever it is, those are all on all podcasting platforms. So if you want to go back and start from the beginning there, if you want to go cherry pick some fun episodes, I wish I could tell you some off the top of my head, but I forget what I did yesterday. They're there. Go listen to them on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, things I don't even know about our show goes to. So wherever it is, I guarantee you can find it. And there you go. You can catch up and then keep watching YouTube or keep listening there, whatever you guys want.
You know, it's a good thing that you could cherry pick would be the Monday Night Potties, our award shows, especially one we did at the end of 1995 that summed up all of our thoughts on the first year of the Monday Night.
First, 4 months, but yes, the first 1995, whatever it was. Yeah.
The first year of Monday Night Warring in 1995, we gave awards for, Wrestler of the Year, Fail of the Year. It was a Moment of the Year.
Theme song. Yeah.
Theme song. Tag
spoiler. Team. I'll give a spoiler.
Only
because this is the only one I remember. I believe our match of the year was a women's tag team match with Joshi wrestlers on Raw.
I think it was on Nitro, actually.
No. It was the Raw match. Oh, was it Nitro?
Yeah. Because they both had a Joshi tag team
Right.
match that same night.
Mm.
But the Nitro one was sweet. A close follow-up, though, close runner-up was Lex Luger versus Hulk Hogan.
That's true.
Yeah, and a lot of talk about that. But that's what cherry picking in the past. You know what else goes in the past, though? Our time machine.
That's true, Adam. Let's go back and let's do this. Let's head back to September 23rd, 1996. Per usual, we are going to start with Raw, which is finally live. Episode 177 coming to you from the Hershey Park Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we are coming off of Mind Games. I tried this week to rewatch Mind Games because it is a pretty decent pay-per-view with an incredible main event of Mankind vs. Shawn Michaels. I believe Mick has said that this was his favorite match that he ever performed in. I did not make it through the whole pay-per-view. I turned it on every single night and fell asleep, but I was able to watch a little bit of it. And one interesting thing that they did not talk about in Raw that happens on the pay-per-view was the ECW invasion. We'll touch on it tonight, but they don't mention it. And it actually happens during the first match, which is Bradshaw versus Savio Vega in a strap match. And you see like a little ruckus going on, and it's the ECW invaders, extremists, whatever the fuck you want to call them, come to ringside. And apparently nobody told the boys that this was happening. So they thought it was a work when Sandman like spit beer into Bradshaw's face or whatever he did. And it was very close to being a brawl. But then when they saw things were about to get out of hands, they very quickly let everyone know, no, it's a work. Don't actually hurt each other out there.
Yeah. They thought it was a shoot. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You imagine if something like that was actually a shoot, how crazy that would be.
It could happen.
It could happen today. I mean, the closest we've had to that happening in modern times would probably be Enzo at Survivor Series a couple of years ago.
Oh, I was going to say when DX invaded Nitro. Like if Bischoff had let them into the building.
Yeah, but that's recent. That's not recent. That's recent.
I guess that's 25 years ago, right?
Yeah. In the context of our podcast, it will be recent. But I'm talking about like in modern times when something like that has happened. The biggest reaction one that I could think of would definitely be Enzo going into the Survivor Series front row.
True. Well, speaking of Mind Games, we open up with some photos from last night. Seeing this, I did see watching pay-per-view. Also, we see Diesel and Razor Ramon attacking Savio Vega.
Backstage.
What's that? Backstage, right. We kind of see them, and they just see still photos, but more to come. Anyway, we open up the show. Kevin Kelly, JR, and King are on the announcement table, and we start hot at him at the Intercontinental Championship final tournament, whatever the hell you want to call it. It is Farouk, no longer Assad. He's already lost that. With Sonny versus Mark Mero with Sable. Match goes 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Walking through a little bit of this match, we get back into it. Pat Patterson is your special ref. He obviously is the first Intercontinental Champion. Mr. Perfect is out there on commentary too because he is an all-time great. I don't fucking know. Sonny is at one point thrown out of the ringside area by Pat Patterson. She then comes down to ringside, suspiciously holding a purse. She places the purse on the ring apron and then gets into a fight with Sable. The loudest reaction you will hear on Raw all night is her fighting Sable. Anyway, Farouk picks up the purse, tries to hit Mark Mero, misses. Mero picks it up, hits Farouk in the head or gut, whatever the hell he hit it with. And then Mero hits the, what the fuck does he call it? The Wild Thing, the Shooting Star Press, and wins the Intercontinental Championship.
I guess Farouk's helmet was not brick-proof this whole time. Who would have known? Not a bad little 9-minute match here.
No.
Yeah.
Where Farouk's matches have seemed sort of boring, he had his working boots on tonight. Like, he is taking big-ass bumps for Mark Mero.
Yeah, and they're both, like, moving at a good pace, and they have chemistry, like, both of them. You can see that their styles are vibing, and there was a really cool, I think my favorite spot of the match was this Samoan drop, this elevated Samoan drop from the second rope that Farouk did.
Does.
Yeah.
That was good. Or even like the Hurricanrana that Mark Mero hits from the top turnbuckle. But that's all Farouk doing that to himself pretty much. Like that, it's his athletic ability that lets that move,
Right.
that has that move happen, you know?
Now, have we debated this on Monday Night Pod before? Because I debate this with everybody about the difference between a Hurricane Rana and a Frankensteiner.
I believe we have.
Yeah, I think so.
I believe my answer is who does it is the answer.
That's it. Yeah, right. But you hear them say it all, like we've heard them say Frankensteiner when Rey Mysterio does it and stuff like that on Nitro.
True. Maybe it's a thing of where Scott is. If Scott's in the company, you could call it a Frankensteiner. If he's not, you call it a Hurricane.
Here's my theory on the difference, just in case people haven't heard it before. Because as you mentioned, we have a growing audience. Hi, YouTube people. Glad that you're here. My assumption, the difference between a Frankensteiner and Hurricane Rana. Hurricane Rana and Frankensteiner, you know, you're both up on the person's shoulders, got their legs wrapped around their head or whatever. Frankensteiner, I think, is when they go back and through the legs to pull somebody over straight down. Hurricane Rana, I think, when you swing to the side and pull them over.
Oh, like a Lita Hurricane Rana or something.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. That's a solid argument. All right. I could go with that. Fair. Anyway, Ahmed Johnson calls in at one point to say nothing.
Yeah, right. Well, King makes fun of his kidneys and stuff.
Yes, kid has to be got a kidney transplant from Jake Roberts.
Still with that poorly timed, poorly decided angle. But yeah, Ahmed Johnson calling in and saying nothing is like.
Well, you know, in terms of like that kind of stuff, we could talk about this week's SmackDown, which was odd. Good. It was a good show. Again, SmackDown sort of just chugs along, but the opening was weird. Did you watch it live?
Yeah, I didn't watch it live, but I
watched it on the thing. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I saw when Reddit was blowing up about it, and I was
it's weird. It's weird only because, like, is Jeff really over his issues?
Yeah. Is it really safe to be
right? Like, if he was clean for a year, 2 years, 5 years, sure. When you've been clean for less than 3 months, I don't know how appropriate it is to do a storyline about how you're not clean. These never age well because the WWE, WWF has tried this numerous times, and it has never aged well. Like, are we going to be watching Dark Side of the Ring in 20 years about the Hardy Boys and have to talk about this fucking segment?
Potentially. I was thinking back on another time that a similar storyline has been done, you know, like, because they love doing the uncontrolled alcoholic things. They were talking about that in the Dark Side of the Ring about the Road Warriors as well, which I also watched. And I was thinking about one time that it was done more recently, and I'm not going to say it was done well, but it wasn't done with anyone being offended because it was by CM Punk during his feud with Chris Jericho, and the thought was that just like they didn't give this part of the feud enough time, I don't think, because kind of what they went off of was that over one night on Monday Night Raw, Punk was pushed over the edge enough by Chris Jericho making fun of his sister or something like that like he actually got drunk, and then like backstage they were showing like, you know, a drunk CM Punk. But what I didn't appreciate about that angle is, as a drunk myself, I'll say it with another sip of my high-octane beer, Punk was doing the drunk acting that a person who's straight edge does of a drunk person. So, like, what a straight edge person thinks a drunk person is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I don't really remember this, but wasn't the whole thing a trick?
Yes, it was.
Right. Okay.
But like but they were playing it like, oh my God, he's actually wasted.
Right.
But
yes.
He's doing cartoon wasted.
Well, I guess the other thing close to this is another Jeff Hardy storyline with CM Punk where they did the same thing. I mean, that's when Jeff left the company originally, was that him leaving, and that was all CM Punk's point was like, you are a drug addict.
Like 2008, 2007.
Yeah, probably around there, because that was Punk's first title reign, or that became his second title reign, because he lost it. He won it as a face,
with Money
He
in the
won
Bank.
as a face with the first Money in the Bank, and the second time he won Money in the Bank, he won it again as a face, sort of turned heel in that match, beat Jeff Hardy, I believe, lost it again. And by the time he reclaimed it off Jeff Hardy, he was 100% a heel.
Right. When he wore
Somewhere in my brain.
Hardy face paint and stuff like that. Yep. Well, drunk storylines, they age like fine milk. So I'm sure it'll be great.
There you go. All right, moving on. After the match, we see Sunny take the brick out of her purse in case our audience is so stupid. Anyway, JR is in the ring with Mark Miro and Sable. Miro thanks Jesus first, then the fans, and then Sable. And then he gives a special thank you to Mr. Perfect for his wisdom, which I had no idea that they've been helping each other, but whatever. And then JR goes, "Oh, what about me?" And Miro's like, "Yeah, I guess you're kind of cool." The first of many JR mental breakdowns on this episode. So we could sort of sum them all up when we get to the big explosion. But
Yeah.
I guess it's good storytelling. But he's like, "What about me?" Like, okay, sort of out of nowhere, but sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, you thank Jesus first. Then we see a door in the back with a big sign that says Razor and Diesel. What could that mean? Well, we're being teased that we will be seeing the real Razor and Diesel on this episode. Then we flash back all the way to July 1995. We see Jeff Jarrett losing to Shawn Michaels at, I believe, the first In Your House or second In Your House show because Rhodey accidentally tripped him. We see clips of the My Baby Tonight music video, and we are told that Jeff Jarrett is going to get exposed tonight. Shit's going down.
Oh, man.
And next up, we see Doc in the locker room with all the faces celebrating Mark Miro. It goes on for far too long. The faces don't know how to keep celebrating past 5 seconds.
Yeah.
They're like, "Woo, yeah!" And then you expect them to go away, and Doc's still there, and they're all like, "Woo, oh yeah!"
You did it, buddy.
It is fun. That is sort of nice when it works like that. Someone did it earlier this year, and they walked backstage, and all the faces were congratulating them. I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe when Street Profits won the tag team titles?
That sounds about right. They also have the appropriate gimmick to, get to celebrate with a bunch of people like that.
That's true.
With the red caps and all that.
Anyway, next up, Jeff Jarrett's getting exposed. Vince McMahon himself takes the time to personally narrate this video package. You wonder if he had any spite about this. We see clips of Jeff Jarrett practicing his performance before the pay-per-view last July. It's obvious that he's lip-syncing the whole thing. Vince says that Jeff never sang a song or recorded the song. Vince states that he was going to be exposed that night, but instead left the WWF. But Vince says next week, the real Double J will premiere. Not me, Double J. That's why I have to be Triple J, because there's already 2 Double Js.
Yeah.
But the real Double J will be exposed. And what's funny about this storyline is that it's all sort of true, where a year ago at that pay-per-view, Jeff was supposed to be exposed, which is why they have that footage of him not singing the song properly.
Yeah,
and he legitimately did leave the company before that played out. He did come back because we saw him come back, but now he is now left again for WCW, and Vince is full of spite and is trying to bury him on the way out. Not the last time Vince tries to bury Jeff Jarrett.
They have such a personal rivalry, those two, it seems. It's funny that they're on good terms today, because at least you have to think that they are, because the last time that I've seen
pretty high up in the company.
Yeah, he had a TV match even.
Yeah.
Who did he face? Elias, that's it.
After getting into the WWE Hall of Fame. So yes, I would say Jeff Jarrett is back in the good graces of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Anyway,
See how long it lasts.
There it is. Next up, the Body Donnas versus our WWF Tag Team Champions, our new WWF Tag Team Champions, British Bulldog and Owen Hart. They won the titles last night, not with Jim Cornette, but with Clarence Mason in their corner. Clarence Mason is back out there tonight. He is also on commentary. We learned that. So last night, one thing I did watch in pay-per-view was the wonderful match between Jim Cornette and Jose Lothario. It is just Jim Cornette bumping like a lunatic and Jose trying to just stay alive. But so anyway, we see footage of Corny in the back, all shaken up and beaten up, and he signs this piece of paper. We learn that Cornette thought he was signing papers to sue Jose Lothario, but is actually the managerial rights to the tag team, which Clarence Mason still has. We will see Corny in this match yelling at Clarence Mason for stealing tag team, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this match goes 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Owen Hart locks on the sharpshooter onto Zip, and he taps out.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts about this match because there wasn't a lot of focus on it. But the big thing kind of happens right in the middle of it before we go into commercial break.
Yes, we see the crowd is chanting EC Dub, and they're all distracted. And then we see Taz come out to ringside at the big sign. JR buries the fuck out of them. They quickly go to commercial, and there's no more mention of ECW again.
I mean, when you say we see Taz do it, like there's no shot of Taz.
He's at ringside, though.
Yeah. But like you're talking,
it's no single.
In the hard cam, you could catch it.
Yes.
But like in the pay-per-view in the broadcast itself, there's no using a camera to catch that. Which is interesting because it does make it feel much more real.
If you're watching in 1996, why would you ever think that ECW and WWF are working together?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's interesting who pulled off this sort of like renegade group coming in on tonight's episode of Raw, but I guess we could talk about tonight's both episodes, but we could talk about that.
We'll get there. I mean, heck, 20 some years later, I'm still not convinced that they were working together. You know,
you're still not convinced what?
That ECW and WWF were in cahoots.
Well, Vince McMahon was paying for ECW the whole time, so I'm sorry to burst the bubble. No real doubt on that one anymore. Anyway, next up, we see photos of Shawn versus Mankind from last night. Again, I did not watch it this week, but I've seen it in the past. It is an excellent match. It is something absolutely worth going back and watching if you haven't seen it before. Sid, Vader, and Undertaker all get involved. That leads to our matches coming up at the next pay-per-view, Buried Alive. Is going to be Sid versus Vader and Undertaker versus Mankind, the first ever Buried Alive match. In fact, there is a tombstone in the middle of the entranceway the entire night of the headstone, or tombstone of that, whatever the fuck it is, about the Buried Alive match. And then we go into an Undertaker vignette from the graveyard. You can imagine what Undertaker says. Next up, we go backstage, and Doc is at the locker room door with says Razor and Diesel. Tries to walk in, and we see the back of Razor's head. But before Doc can get in there, Razor slams the door. JR gets all pissy again. He's, no, that's my interview.
Yeah, that's right. He's trying to scoop my interview.
Moving on. Stone Cold comes out to join commentary. Austin says that he wants to spit on the life and the career of Bret Hart. Runs down Bret Hart. But that leads to our next match with Stone Cold still on commentary. Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus the Stalker, Barry Windham. Woo! This match goes 8 minutes. Hunter has a new lovely gal with him, which plays into the other match. Mr. Perfect comes out at one point. Hunter is distressed that he's out there. I don't really understand why. But then we see why. Because eventually Mr. Perfect makes his way over to Hunter's young lady, whispers something into her ear, and they both walk out. As they're walking up the entranceway, Hunter, like a dummy, instead of getting out of the ring and doing something, not paying attention to it, I don't know, doing anything but what he did. Instead, he goes up to the top rope to look on at this situation, just so the Stalker could get up there and hit his superplex for the win, which happens to take place from the top rope. Hunter, if the guy's finisher is on the top rope, don't put yourself and turn your back to him while you're on the top rope. Stupid finish. Stupid match. Barry Hunter. The summer of Barry and Hunter continues.
Great commentary from Stone Cold, though, throughout all this. Like, there's some
That's
actual, like, real storyline moving forward with the whole Bret Hart thing happening through this segment, with Stone Cold just being on commentary and really finding that Stone Cold voice, too. This hearing him talk in this extended time frame is sort of actually the first time that I was listening to it, and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, that's Stone Cold Steve Austin right there. That isn't the ringmaster. That isn't Steve Austin finding himself. This is post 316, but like how they make you think 316 works, right? Like even though 316 was 2 months ago, like this is how the documentaries on the network make us think 316 was, that, you know, oh, stomp a mud hole in his ass, I spit on the spit on the legacy of Bret Hart, all
Yeah, he
that.
says that he can't say the real words he wants to say, but he'll rhyme the words, which is spit. So
Yeah. And so I really like that for those reasons. I do see a huge missed opportunity in the gimmick of the Stalker at the beginning of this match. Now, yes, Stalker's dead on arrival. Who cares? That's probably why they wouldn't put this level of effort into it. But for those who have checked out, who aren't just only listening to our podcast, which I'm okay if you are, great on you. I'll paint a picture with words for you here. Those who watch the shows are familiar with this. When Hunter Hearst Helmsley comes out with his lovely lady and he gets in the ring, the lights are turned down and he has the individual spotlight on himself, right? As he's taken off his coat and they're doing the shot on him or whatever. So everything's dark around him except for this spotlight in the ring, right? Now, if you really wanted to do something with the Stalker gimmick, the guy who's done up in camouflage like he's supposed to be hiding and shit, then the lights would come up and he would be in the ring already, ready to jump Hunter Hearst Helmsley because he was the Stalker, because he went through the dark and was right there and then pop, was right on it. That is what I would do if I was booking a character called the Stalker. I would have him actually stalking or hiding in the darkness, doing all that stuff. I find it a huge missed opportunity to just have a little bit of fun with a stupid gimmick.
Yeah, Barry Windham doesn't look happy.
Yeah, on top of everything, you are very right.
I feel like Bruce and Vince pitched that to him, and he's like, "No." What if you did this?
Yeah.
I spend like an hour face painting every day for this shit. Like, that's as much as they're gonna do. Let me just go out there and have a superplex. Who cares?
Right, but I mean, come on. I was looking for it because I was like, that's his gimmick. He's the Stalker. Like, everything's dark.
Maybe Dexter Loomis could do that. He sort of stalks his way to the ring.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that could work.
Anyway, next up, JR gets in the ring and starts to talk about Razor and Diesel, but instead we cut to Mankind Paul Bearer doing his vignette. They literally just cut out JR talking, cut back to JR, and he's bitching and moaning in the ring still.
Wait. The Mankind Paul Bearer vignette, because I didn't get to say this earlier, with the Undertaker promo, seems like they're in the same graveyard where they're cutting promos, and they're really fucking good. I just want to reiterate that, like, these promos, the Undertaker one is an Undertaker promo, you know what that is, but this Mankind Paul Bearer promo that's back there is fucking awesome. I really liked it.
It wasn't bad. Sounds like all the other Mankind Paul Bearer promos.
Yeah, but this
I'm gonna get you, Taker.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a compelling character. It's meshing really well with the Undertaker, and it all really works. And plus, you only really get a couple years of that breaky voice Mankind thing.
Yes.
Like, he's gonna be like, when he puts on the T-shirt, he's just Mick Foley in a mask.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
So.
But I mean, even before that, because pretty much as soon as he transitions out of this to Dude Love comes first, I believe.
Yes.
So pretty much there you lose it. And that's happening. It's gonna happen very shortly.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really think these characters are working well together, Bearer and Mankind, and this whole promo that they have back there. I mean, that, not to spoil the end of our segment here, but that might have been my favorite piece of Raw right here.
We'll get to that. Anyway, cut back to JR. He's still bitching and moaning in the ring. He's like, cut away from me, God. So Kevin Kelly cuts him off and goes right to commercial. Finally come back to JR again, and I got to stop doing impression because I actually have to get through a lot of the words that he says, and I cannot say these words in his voice. So I will do this in normal Jeremy, but imagine JR bitching and moaning. Anyway, he says that he has a lot to get off. He has something to get off his chest. He says that people will always question his loyalty to WWF, and that's good because he has none. As the crowd cheers, which isn't really what you would expect. Anyway, JR talks about leaving WCW. He doesn't mention WCW. He says leaving the South or leaving Atlanta. Speaks more specifically about leaving the Falcons to work for the WWF in 1983. Tells the story about how he came in night one. He was forced to wear a toga for WrestleMania 9. and he hated that. He became the primary play-by-play man. He came in to be the primary play-by-play man, had to yoga. Was a play-by-play man at King of the Ring. He was the greatest play-by-play man that's ever existed, but the egotistical owner Vince McMahon couldn't stand the competition. So you know what? Good old JR disappeared. And then in 1994, he sadly got Bell's palsy. And a few weeks later, Mr. McMahon fired his ass. And he had to tell his 2 young daughters why he got fired. Then when Vince got indicted, they brought him back, fired him again, finally brought him back to work in the front office. He says, everyone's leaving the WWF, and that's not an accident. And he's a very busy man because he's signing people also. So bring on out Razor Ramon.
Yeah. I wrote in this, like, stop trying to make me boo JR. I just love him.
To be fair, JR is a natural heel.
So JR's points here are all valid. That's the first thing about the company fucking him over. I think it was one of their first, I guess they never really learned this lesson about how, like, they can't, for whatever reason, WWE cannot treat themselves as the victim and be the face in anything, right? Like,
They've tried.
They've tried so many times. Remember the Stand Up for WWE campaign?
Well, the only time it worked was when they thought it would be the opposite in the Invasion, when they thought they would be the heels, and there were such big faces in that they had to reverse it.
Yeah. Well, that's just because the Invasion was messy as shit all over. But, like, I'm watching this, I'm thinking, like, all right, you could say JR's a natural heel, but I'm watching this and I'm thinking, like, yeah, man, he's been screwed over a lot. Like, I don't, I empathize with this fella. I'm not gonna take the other team.
My guess is, I know JR has talked about this in his podcast, and I listened to it. I don't remember specifically what he said. The way we sort of know how Vince operates is my guess. JR has been bitching and moaning nonstop. This whole speech, he's probably bitched and moaned 1,000 times to everybody in the office every night. And they were like, they probably thought it was sort of funny. And this is a giant fucking rib on JR. Is turn his ass heel, make him come out with these 2 fucking losers, and make him even worse, is my guess. This is a big old rib on good old JR.
They've tried so many throughout the years. I mean,
anyway,
Kane lighting him on fire felt like almost a rib on good old JR. And that's like one of the most iconic moments in Raw history now.
I mean, he's talked about this too, that, night 2 of Austin being a heel, JR Stone Cold beat the shit out of him in his hometown.
Yeah.
He's trying to get heat, but he legit, like, opens him up, and it was kind of gruesome, and JR just thinks there's no point to it, and he had to bleed in front of his friends and family in his hometown. So
he put up with so much shit over the years, man. Like, it's just what a fella. And I know that he has, people have mixed opinions about him on AEW, but drink guy, because I am unabashedly in love with JR being on AEW.
I finally came to the full conclusion this week that the show would be better off without him.
You think? Okay. All right.
I think he takes you out of the moment too many times now.
Okay. All right. That's a fair.
Where Tony is great.
Oh, Tony is as sharp as he was in 1999.
Let him be the play-by-play guy. Let him lead.
And Excalibur is also really good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Then
have whoever you want on comment elsewhere. I mean, you don't need a 3-man booth, but if you want another person booth, like, I don't know, throw anyone's name out there, I'll be happy with. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, let's finish up Raw before.
Right. Anyway, Razor Ramon comes out. His music plays, huge pop, and then they immediately see that it's not Razor Ramon, and the crowd goes silent. Anyway, Kevin Kelly immediately says that this is not the original one. Says JR is just trying to embarrass the WWF. King makes a line that Razor is looking bigger than usual. He does his little catchphrase, and Savio comes out and attacks him and beats him up as we go off the air.
He sounds exactly like Razor in the catchphrase because it's
because Razor is just like such a stereotypical
right. It's like Cuban
accent
something
that it's sort of like easy to do. Yeah, it is Tony Montana.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what happens. And then obviously the Savio attack to end the show. A little disappointed that we didn't get my boy Fake Diesel coming in here quite yet, because I was
We were promised both by JR, so JR just lied to us.
maybe
He lied to us about a lot of stuff.
You know, I'll take back everything. He's a full blown heel son of a bitch now in my eyes. Well, you know, it was a way to end Raw. I think back and forth on this, and we'll be able to talk about this for another few weeks, I'm sure, because obviously we didn't get our Fake Diesel. But like, did they think that this would last? Do you think, like, that they brought these guys in for this gimmick, especially repackaging Dr. Isaac Yankem, which clearly meant we're done with this. We're done with this toy. You are now this toy, right? So they had.
My guess is yes. My guess is they thought that yes, if we could get, they were never supposed to be the replacements, but if we could get them over as heels, as these big fake guys, people hate them enough, and you know, whatever, and then eventually we could do whatever we want with them. Maybe. I mean, I do think the more interesting route would have been for JR to bring back some parody every single week. But that would have been funny.
Yeah. Do you think
bring back Hulk Hogan, bring back Randy Savage, I guess they couldn't call them those things because they didn't own the rights to those.
They
which is harder.
They already did the Nacho Man and the
Huckster.
So you know, they kind of shot themselves in the foot to be able to do it in that way. But I understand what you're saying. They could have done something with a Lex Luger type, or you know, Ted DiBiase type.
It's like here's JR again lying to you guys.
Right, JR could bring in the $2 billion man or whatever, or the $2 million man. It had me thinking also about like a lot of those gimmicks throughout the years. Like, did they think that Luke Gallows Kane was going to be a thing? You know what I mean?
I think the plan wasn't the plan for Kane to retire.
I know, but then he wrestled for another 12 years.
Because he was like, oh, he just forced his hand, and he was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, but clearly he didn't have to retire because he wrestled for another 12 years.
True. I mean, listen, we had Fake Taker. That wasn't supposed to last, but we had Fake Taker. It's an old wrestling trope.
Oh, yeah? Yeah. I wonder who's going to be our next fake out there. Well, we might find another fake, more successful fake tonight.
That's true, Adam. Would you like to go to Nitro?
I would love to.
Click. We're going to change the channel. Let's go to the BJCC Coliseum in Birmingham, Alabama. Do you think that's like the Birmingham Jewish Community Center?
Yes.
BJCC? Okay.
I'll go with that right now, because they couldn't be in the Von Braun Center's in Huntsville, Alabama. Running a lot of Alabama shows this WCW.
Easy to get to. It's a drive. Anyway, this is episode 54, and we are live. Tony and Larry opened the show and talk about how most of WCW are in Japan tonight. We knew that. We see a newspaper ad in USA Today calling tonight's show NWO Monday Nitro. Little tease of what's to come for tonight.
Yeah, I wonder what's in store for us.
Oh, boy. We see clips from earlier today of NWO handing out, not the NWO members, but NWO volunteers handing out flyers as fans come to the arena. And we see the fans ripping them to shreds because they're Team WCW. Anyway.
Would you have ripped one of those to shreds yourself, Jer, if you were walking into the crowd?
No, I would have held on to it perfectly because it is a memento in history. So I would have held it like this in my hands the whole night so I didn't destroy it.
Oh, yeah, I would have pressed it between the pages of the program and would have sold it on eBay recently, because I'm sure it goes for like $1,000.
Right. I mean, I guess like it's just like cheap paper. We could sort of print one out ourselves. It's very easy to fake, but you know, whatever. Anyway, first match up. It is the Taskmaster with Conan with Jimmy Hart and Big Bubba versus Brad Armstrong and Juventud Guerrera. Ugh. Match goes 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Today's on commentary. Conan. It's Conan. Why do I call which
Conan.
one is it?
Conan.
Say like a New Yorker, Conan. Conan goes to tag Sullivan throughout the match, but Sullivan has been refusing. Finally, he tags. Conan hits a powerbomb on Brad Armstrong. Sullivan finally tags in, gracefully walks over, pins Sullivan for the win. Afterwards, Big Bubba gets in the ring, and him and Sullivan beat the shit out of Conan. Hart says that this is an initiation. So then once he gets through it, Conan jumps up, and they all celebrate together. Crowd doesn't seem to get it because it took Jimmy Hart yelling it and the announcers to tell us 1,000 times what was happening. So when the crowd doesn't understand that it's an initiation, they just sort of like, what? And then they're hugging. They're like, what?
Yeah.
It was weird.
A little confusing. I liked Juventud Guerrera's ring work during this, though. Like, for the tiny amount of time that they had, he was putting in some good stuff.
Seemed more comfortable with Conan.
Yeah.
And we've seen Hoovy in the past,
Definitely. Thinking of how you say Conan and Conan or whatever, there's a thing they do on the Adam Carolla show called the same name game, where they bring two people who have like the same name who like couldn't be further apart. So Conan O'Brien and Conan the wrestler, like, could there be two like more different human beings kind of thing. So just funny that you say that. But yeah, during this match, even though it's just 2.5 minutes, we get to see our first little signs of the NWO supporters in the crowd. And we're getting
their little signs, walking through. Yeah,
walking through with signs. So we'll see what's going on here.
We will. Next up, you see footage of the NWO from last week, talking about being at Nitro this week. And then Mike Tenay is backstage interviewing Randy Savage. He talks about being a marked man. He said that he was also booked to go on the Japan trip, but he knew he had to be at Nitro. So that's why he's here. But everyone else, all of the bigger faces, are all in Japan.
That's important to know.
There you go. Next up, Mean Mark Enos versus Chris Jericho with his sweet, sweet, sweet theme music. Match goes 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Jericho takes an absolute beating during this match. He like suplexes Jericho, like he flips the step sideways and suplexes him on there. He even locks on the walls. He locks the walls of Jericho onto Chris Jericho. I don't believe that was Jericho's move yet.
Yeah.
But anyway,
no, he probably had the Lion Tamer from ECW and from Mexico and Japan and stuff like that.
He would let Enos use it as like a transition hold in a match if that's his finisher.
You got to think what the Lion Tamer was. So Enos was in a Boston Crab for this, and they specifically called him
he was in a Boston. Well, yeah, of course, which is why I don't believe. That's why I don't believe they're positioned at all as Jericho's finisher.
Right, but like I'm just thinking, like the proper version of the Lion Tamer, as we knew it, as we saw it, is the full like knee on the
right,
side.
He's holding Jericho's much higher up on the body.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. But they did say what's funny is, so maybe it was just a mistake of Enos, because Enos, they call out, did not have the holds in properly, which made it look to me more like the walls of Jericho or Island Timber, if I can recall it. Anyway.
Zbyszko was making fun of his leaning forward in his terrible form in the crowd.
Enos goes for a power slam. Jericho reverses it mid-slam and pins him for the win.
Kind of a dumb finish. I didn't really see. WCW does it sometimes, so they get a little bold with like what their like last-minute reversal finish kind of thing is, and then it doesn't really look like anything.
Right. It's like, how do you describe it? I don't know. They just reversed it.
Maybe like a DDT kind of impact, like maybe, but like not really as you're watching.
Yeah. I thought it was okay. You kind of know what's going to happen. This didn't need to go on for almost 8 minutes, but you sort of like saw the writing on the wall of like, all right, Mark Enos is a jobber. Chris Jericho has just recently debuted, even though he's taking a beating this entire time. The crowd was legitimately behind him. They worked the crowd really well. Like Jericho's comebacks, as little as they were within the match, got pops, which is interesting. So he had them. Well, and you sort of knew at some point this is what was going to happen. He was going to sort of steal a cheap win after getting his ass kicked the whole way. But not bad necessarily,
Yeah, totally. He's got his great theme music, as you said. He's got his great Lionheart hair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was like, damn, I miss that hair. Because I was like, could he I was like, when he leaves, like, let's say Jericho finally wants to retire. And he's like, let me go out with one character. And to me, Jericho is always going to be 1999 Y2J.
Yeah.
And like, wouldn't it be amazing if he went out? But like, he can't look like that anymore. Like if he tried to replicate that, he would never be able to look like that. So what is the point?
He'd look silly, but Well, I mean, speaking of Jericho and speaking of making things from the past new again, what'd you think about the Tyson angle that's going on?
Oh boy. Well, I don't understand where it leads to.
Okay.
So I guess you give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's certainly not leading to Mike Tyson versus Chris Jericho.
You don't think that they headline Fyter Fest?
Oh, no. If they end up having a match, then you do it at All Out or All In, whichever one they call it now.
Mhm.
Fyter Fest is a joke for pay-per-view. They're definitely not going to do it there. But
Fyter
you
Fest
allow
3 last year, I think. So
what's that?
Fyter
Yeah,
Fest-
exactly. It's not like their next official pay-per-view is it's All Out
I
or
think
All In, which one they call it.
no, it would be All Out because
All right, All Out.
it's All In, then Double or Nothing, then All Out.
Okay, All Out.
We just had Double.
So yes, if anything, it's there, but I do not believe that you put a mentally deranged, way past his prime Mike Tyson into a match. WWF was afraid to put him into a match in 1999. I don't think it's safe to put him in even a 10-man tag match. I would not put Mike Tyson in that situation. My guess is he finds somebody to fight for him if they do anything. But I think that they're all smart enough not to have that happen. So,
All right. Well, I'll say I love the execution of it. I really did. I love the pull apart and everything. I thought I liked it a lot. Well, the whole Inner Circle pep rally leading up to that moment
I like that.
was awesome. And yeah, it was a little like one of his guys like fake drinking out of an empty bottle was a little silly coming out or whatever. But like, hey man, I was on board for it. It's interesting, and it's fucking hilarious that Jericho is saying the inciting incident of this entire thing is from an interaction they had on Raw.
I mean, I do love that. I was thinking about that. I while I was playing out, I was like, it is sort of like their own little like Marvel universe in these wrestling companies. And it's sort of funny how sometimes they play together and sometimes they don't. And if you really like think big picture about it, like take yourself out of it like being a TV show and you think of like just what this universe is, what universe, how does any of this make sense? I know you can't think about wrestling like that, but like, no, but isn't it supposed to be like DC and Marvel? And now they're saying that it's combined. Like, where does it end then if it's all different and all together? I was like, oh, my brain will explode.
I like that because I've talked about this
I liked it
before.
too. I just thought like it's so funny.
No, it is funny, and that's a good point. But I've talked about this before, and it's their mentality of not treating their audience like idiots. And
Right.
so, like, Jericho can say something as ridiculous as that, like, hey, I still have beef from this time that you punched me 10 years ago. And like we can be like, oh yeah, that happened. So like that was a real thing. We don't have to pretend that it didn't happen. We don't have to pretend that like these guys have never seen each other before or something like that. Like even though we can't watch a video package about it, they know, hey, we're perfectly capable of finding that information on our own and building off of that. So like I'm on board. I think it's hilarious. I think it's interesting. Got them a ton of press. And I prefer when a celebrity has to be used that they're used in a way like that than when they're like, the anonymous Raw general manager or whatever,
Just a cameo.
Yeah. Or even like Tyson presenting the TNT title. Like, who cares?
I agree. That was stupid. Anyway, next up. Pat Tanaka, still Goldberg's music versus Glacier. Match goes 1 minute. His entrance goes 5 minutes. They're still wrestling in the blue light. Spinning round kick ends it, even though he totally whiffed. And the crowd is dead for all of this.
Yep. Well, you know what crowd is not dead? Whatever's going on in Bischoff's pants at this point, because I can see he is just finishing himself off watching this thing, man. This karate.
I kind of enjoy it. It just, him missing the finish doesn't help.
Yeah, I have a new term for us. So we like to use punch kick match. I have karate now
Karate.
for what we're gonna be seeing.
Next up, we see Matt Gaffari in the stands. He apparently just won a silver medal at the Olympics. Larry calls him a loser because he didn't win the gold medal.
He won for Greco-Roman wrestling, so he is the Kurt Angle that never was.
Anyway, next up, it's the WCW Tag Team Championship match, Public Enemy versus Harlem Heat with Sherry and Colonel Robert Parker. Match goes 8 minutes, 45 seconds. During the match, we cut backstage and we see the NWO arriving. Then we get to a really odd finish. Booker T, small packages, Rocco Rock. Nick Patrick gives, it looks like Booker T, small packages, Rocco Rock for the win. Harlem Heat's music plays. Everything seems right. Then Nick Patrick awards the match to Public Enemy. What the fuck? They never showed a replay because my guess is that the two of them fucked up this finish. Because when you watch it live, it only looks like Booker T beats him.
Really? No, I disagree. I thought I saw Rocco Rock get it.
I don't know. It looked to me like Booker small packages him and he wins. And WCW loves their stupid replays, and they did not replay this once.
I thought I saw some movement. So hey, this is exactly what they want. They want us disagreeing on the finish. They want us saying, "Whoa, what happened?"
We got worked
really
at him.
Important thing to talk about this match, because they harshed on it many times throughout the commentary, is that Halloween Havoc, the Outsiders have a shot at the WCW Tag Team titles. So yes, whoever wins this is obviously going to be going on to that.
Yes. Now it was 9 minutes. Nothing else happened to the match.
Yeah. It was pretty standard tag team.
They were sort of just like wrestling as NWO came in. Yeah. But don't worry, we're about to hit it real fucking hard for NWO. Hour 2 begins. Eric Mongo and Tenay are on commentary. First matchup is Greg Valentine versus Randy Savage. 3 minutes, and Randy Savage loses his mind, takes a steel chair, slams into Valentine's head, right in front of the ref, no DQ, but he's finally DQ'd when Savage gets him top rope and again jumps off, slamming a chair into the head of Greg Valentine. At that point, the NWO runs out and they start to beat the shit out of Savage. Razor's Edge, just destroying him. At that point, Giant gets on the mic and brings out Hollywood Hogan. They continue to beat up Savage. Even the funny part is Giant is beating him up with a Slim Jim. Anyway.
And every time they mention Halloween Havoc, by the way, it's Slim Jim presents Halloween Havoc.
There you go. Get their money's worth. Hogan gets on the mic and he calls Savage Nacho Man. He says that he's going to cover up his bald spot, which commentary rightfully points out to Hogan about his own bald spot. And he spray paints Savage's bald head. They then run over to the announce table. Heenan and Tenay run away scared. But they force Bischoff to stay. Nash and Hall get on commentary, and the rest of them NWO stands behind them. And then they bring out the newest member of the NWO, who they were sort of teasing earlier. It's Vincent,
who they refer to as Vince.
Right.
And what a legendary rib. It's Virgil.
It is Virgil. For God's sakes, Jesus. I said for whatever. Virgil is part of the NWO.
He sure is.
This all escalated very quickly, both in the match and in the. I mean, the NWO has unofficially 8 members now, and one of them is fake Sting, and one of them is Vincent, and it feels like the NWO just started a month ago.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of did, but
right, like they just never let this thing breathe.
I think
this is insane.
Yeah, I think it started like 6 weeks ago, but I mean, like, kind of its crazy march forward is part of what also is making it work.
Right.
I mean,
well,
like, the audience litters the ring with trash while this is happening. Like, they're doing the whole thing. And
I guess I do want to say, I just realized one reason why it feels so rushed to us is that we skipped 3 weeks of Nitro.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe if we watched those 3 weeks, it wouldn't feel as rushed to us.
Well, I blame the Westminster Dog Show or whatever was going on.
U.S. Open tennis.
Oh, even worse. Dogs love balls, so I can still blame dogs for it in some way.
Well, let's keep going. The rest of the show, this rest of the show we can sort of condense into this because it is NWO Monday Nitro and it is chaos. We come back. It is officially NWO Monday Nitro. They talk about taking over NASCAR too. In fact, they bring out their own NWO NASCAR, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Kyle Petty is going to be driving it. Is that what they said?
I believe so. That we did not used to work at the NASCAR tape library, so we're not going to be able to give you as in-depth of a punch into that. But I mean, they have a full-blown fucking stock car come out there. So,
cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Anyway, next match is supposed to be Jim Powers with Teddy Long versus M Wall Street. They never said VK Wall Street, so my guess is that they couldn't have two ribs on Vince's name. So as soon as Vincent came out, they had to change VK Wall Street to M Wall Street. Sounds about right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Anyway, Giant is our new ring announcer. Before the match starts, Nash and Hall come out and come to ringside and leave DiBiase in commentary. Hall and Nash beat the shit out of Jim Powers and throw him into the ring. Randy Anderson walks out saying this isn't sanctioned. He can't do anything with this. So Nick Patrick comes out and he's very happy to be the ref. But instead, this match is going to be Giant versus Jim Powers. Powers likes a dummy. This is really bad. Giant goes to the chokeslam, so he puts his arm, goozles him, and Powers, instead of getting ready to get up for the chokeslam, he just goes down, and you see Giant you see his eyes oh god damn it, picks him up and has to fucking chokeslam him from there. Idiot. He had to take one. He had to take one move, and he fucked it up.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that's what we've seen Giant do many times before with the likes of a hacksaw Jim Duggan or a Big Bubba. Or John Tenta, somebody who doesn't want to get up or isn't properly ready to get up. Oh, no. You're dealing with a 23-year-old Paul White here. He gets him up.
Yes. Anyway, during the match, we come back to see Hulk Hogan spray painting things in the back, NWO. Come back to see Giant win. If you want to call it a match, Giant wins. Anyway, we head backstage again. Hogan finds the Nasty Boys and says that they've always been friends. Hogan wants to talk business with them, so he gives them his room key, and they all agree that they trust each other tonight.
Yeah, he said that they needed to pop the bottles, get it ready, and I was thinking of the Nasty Boys drinking champagne, and I was like, I don't think that works at all.
Cheap champagne.
Maybe. What's that cheap champagne that people drink?
I have no idea.
Ah, boy. We got a bunch of it in college because we were trying to, have a fancy party in my fraternity and champagne and strawberries kind of thing. But
I guess it was not called champagne.
Yeah, right. I don't think it was from the Champagne region of France. Andre Brut. That's it.
Sounds about right.
That's Andre. Yeah. That's the cheap champagne.
Sparkling wine.
Yeah, if you can barely call it wine.
Sparkling something. Anyway, we come back and NWO is still with Eric Bischoff. And next match is Jim Duggan versus Ron Studd. Ron Studd comes out. Hogan approaches him, sort of whispers something to him as he comes down, pretends like he's on his side, but then Nash blindsides him, beats the shit out of him. Hall is playing NWO music over the boombox, and instead of Ron Studd, it's going to be Six versus Jim Duggan. Duggan initially is able to fight off everybody with his 2x4, but eventually Six takes over. Giant hits chokeslam on Duggan, throws him into the ring, chokeslams him on the outside, throws his ass back into the ring, and Six pins him for the win.
Now, have we mentioned that the Giant is serving as the ring announcer for all of this so far?
I mentioned that at the beginning. I didn't mention that he continued to be the ring announcer, though.
Yeah. So, he is continuing to do it. And it's just making it that much more obvious to me that Giant is the one who should be going in the Hall of Fame with the NWO, not Six, as far as if they're going to bring four men in, because Giant is running this show, actually. He's great. I'm laughing at some of his.
He's really found his character very much more easily than he did as the weird, whatever the fuck he was in a Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, he's having fun with it, you can tell, and it's good. Yep.
Next up, it's NWO Sting versus Bo Ledoux. We're told that Bo Ledoux has been brought in by the NWO. Sting, fake Sting, NWO Sting, whatever you want to call him, locks on a Scorpion Deathlock, and Nick Patrick calls for the bell.
Real quick.
Again, not really a match. Sure, a match. I don't fucking know. Back to the announcer's desk, and Hogan talks about what he's going to do to Savage at Halloween Havoc. And next up, it is the NWO Tag Team Tournament. Sure. It's supposed to be High Voltage versus Amazing French Canadians. Amazing French Canadians come in. They start singing the Canadian National Anthem. Hall and Nash interrupt, and instead, they will wrestle. Amazing French Canadians just bail. They're like, nah, we're out. So it's High Voltage versus the Outsiders. This match sucks. It goes on for almost 9 minutes. Jackknife finally ends it, and they are announced that they're the new NWO World Tag Team Champions. Means absolutely nothing.
Right, because we can assume that they still have their match at Slim Jim Presents Halloween Havoc.
Right.
Against the newly crowned Public Enemy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get there, I guess. I don't know. It's just... Like, this is just, NWO running the table here. They're doing all their stuff. NWO is running wild, brother.
Yeah, and then that's it. We come back to announcer's table. We see footage of Savage getting beat up again, and that's the end of the show. They go out with one last joke. Scott Hall asks Giant if he's really Andre's son. And he's like, oh, and Hogan's like, yeah. And that's how we end Nitro.
Yeah, I liked how they cut back to the announcer's booth and like every NWO guy was just surrounding Bischoff, and like the whole time Vincent, who's Ted DiBiase's bodyguard, I guess, is roughing up Bischoff. He's actually roughing him up a little much. Yeah, he's being real physical with him. But otherwise, I think the show. That's it. But what an important kind of show, right?
I feel like this happens a lot with this NWO stuff. It's a hard balance between how would we have felt in 1996 and how we feel now.
Sure.
I think my perspective on watching this out now was that was a terrible hour of television. From the second NWO started their bullshit, which was pretty much at the top of the hour, nothing happens. It was the same joke played out for the next hour.
Right.
And I don't think that's entertaining.
Right.
Now, yes, we have some historical perspective on it. Maybe you appreciate that more. And if you're in 1996, maybe you're just so wowed by something you've never seen before that this is so enthralling that you were excited by it. And now in 2020, we've seen this kind of stuff play out 1,000 times where it's not as exciting.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have that perspective, but I think if you're looking at it, I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy 1 second an hour, especially that main event was just awful.
Yeah. I liked the Giant doing ring announcements. I had a couple of chuckles with Nash and Hall on commentary. There was one line.
Yeah, there were little moments. But total all those moments and it's 30 seconds of an hour.
Right. Yeah, I liked Hall when he was on commentary during Jim Powers versus VK Wall Street, and VK is coming out and Jim Powers is in the ring. It's a shot of Jim Powers and Hall says, "Man, that kid looks juiced up and ready to go." Because Jim Powers is like as steroided out as steroids can get for those at home listening.
All right. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough call this week because Raw wasn't really good. I liked the Mankind and the Undertaker promos, and that was about.
I like the opening match. The JR stuff I didn't love, but I did think it was interesting and different.
Yeah, it's pretty close on this one. Because I'm looking back, and usually we're able to like call to some matches or something that we saw on Nitro and sort of point things out a little like much better. That like, oh yeah, that was the thing to go back and watch. Like that was a hard hitting whatever. Some Four Horsemen versus some whoever would be something that we'd point to. But like this week, I mean, the best match on the card was probably Jericho Enos. And like, who gives a shit about Mike Enos? I'm sorry.
Right. Like,
No,
yeah, I think it's like, I think my answer is going to be, if there's one thing to watch, if there's one show to watch, it's Nitro. But which one was the better show? I think Raw was.
yeah, but like Bulldog and Owen versus the Body Donnas was just trash. Stalker versus Hunter was trash.
Yeah, you got a good Austin though.
Good Austin. Vince McMahon like airing his dirty laundry with Jeff Jarrett, like
Yep.
that just felt like a personal vendetta. That wasn't good television.
I thought it was funny.
I mean, at least you have Miro versus Farouk.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
You know,
It's
so
probably the best match of the night.
in the context of Monday Night Wars and what we've said we'll do on this podcast is trying to come to a consensus. I think you are able to pull more reasons to argue that Raw was the better show than I am able to pull reasons that Nitro was the better show. So with that,
There we go. Let's go with Raw.
So Raw.
Great. Our loyal audience who's keeping track of this, check off Raw. But America that night did not agree with us, Adam. Nitro got a 3.4 and Raw got a 2.0.
Yeah.
Destroyed.
I mean, it wasn't awesome, right? Like there was nothing great on Raw. And as you were saying, like going back and watching this last hour is kind of like, all right, they're just shitting on the show basically for an hour.
Right.
But I imagine seeing it live when nothing like that had happened before or nothing had been done
Much
before.
more exciting. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? And then, I mean, you have the groundbreaking debut of Vince.
I think that's what pushed me over the edge to how fucking terrible this was.
Yeah, well, it's goddamn, man.
Also, Six didn't look good. I know this is his first match in months. He did not look to be in ring shape.
No, he didn't look to be in ring shape. His ring gear was stupid. Like, you're supposed to be like the new guy for the NWO. Why do you have like lightning bolts and shit on your?
Well, it was still his kid gear that he like unstitched the part that said 1, 2, 3 kid.
Yeah, because he hasn't had months and months and months to get new gear.
True. Maybe he bought new gear and then couldn't fit into it, and he was like, "Oh shit."
Maybe so. Maybe so. Well, we'll
Saying.
never know, Jer Bear. We'll never know.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, that was this week. Let's run through all those things and then we can say goodbye. If you listen to this on a podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, Google, I don't know, anywhere else, make sure you're following, subscribed. New episodes drop every single Monday morning. I think around 7:30 they drop. I wake up early just for you guys to make sure the episode gets up every single morning. Follow, subscribe, listen to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review. You click the 5 stars and you can write something if you want to write something. Either one, we very much appreciate. If you're watching on YouTube and you like looking at our lovely faces, definitely subscribe. Definitely comment below. Let us know who should have won this week's Monday Night War. Let us know what your thoughts are on the entire show. You could also do that on Twitter at Monday Night Pod, or Instagram at Monday Night Pod, or Facebook at Monday Night Pod. I think that's it. I think it's everywhere Monday Night Pod is. You can find us. Info at mondaynightpod.com if you want to email us.
Perfect. I love to hear some thoughts. Jeremy likes the constructive criticism. I like the unabashed praise. So, by all means, put that out. I'll give a personal shout out to Two Roads, Too Juicy New England IPA for sponsoring my thoughts on today's Monday Night Pod. But it's a good time, Jared Bear. Now I'm glad that we can be, even with everyone still keeping their social distancing, staying home, staying safe, that we can all bring our little podhead community together and have some fun reliving the Monday Night Wars.
Oh, our number one Hall of Fame fan, Adam, as he would say.
Says friend of the show, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We have at least 2 friends of the show right now. We've got Hacksaw Jim Duggan. We've got Bull Nakano. And it's only going to grow from there. I mean, you're already personal friends with Kathy Kelly, and, you're followed by Brandy Rhodes. I can only imagine.
No, not followed by Brandy Rhodes.
Oh, okay.
Chatted. Oh.
Followed by Zack Ryder.
We got Zack Ryder. We got
Matt-
Renee. We got
Matt
Caleb.
Cardona. Is that what?
What's that?
It's Matt Cardona. Is that
Matt Cardona. Yes. This is shoot name.
shoot name? Hey man, we'll see. 90-day no compete clauses they're gonna come up sooner than we think, and then we'll see some interesting things.
He had a 90-day clause.
I think everyone did who was released, from what I saw.
Mhm.
But like, what am I? A fucking contract lawyer? Come on. I'm a drunk guy who drinks double IPAs and talks about wrestling from 1996.
Wrestling.
Come on.
There it is. All right. On that note, Adam. Bye.